Hey everybody, today's video is going to be on how do you love yourself while loving another person? So loving yourself in a relationship and the difference between that and loving yourself as an individual when you're single and not in a relationship. So I'm going to hop right into it. Recently, I started understanding this topic on a different level. And I'm going to say loving yourself as an individual and how you show yourself love is a lot different, but not too different than when you are in a relationship. And I think it's about finding the balance between yourself and the other person's needs and when to walk away is so important here. Okay, so being in a relationship and showing yourself self love and another person is about acceptance, believe it or not. It's another form of acceptance, and we're constantly faced with acceptance throughout our whole entire lives. What gets in the way of us being able to love ourselves is rooted in self-limiting beliefs, a lack of boundaries, and knowing how to stand behind them, and having a big enough reason why you're standing behind them. So if you already struggle with loving yourself as an individual, you may find yourself in bad relationships repeatedly due to the fact of self-limiting beliefs of I'm not worthy or I'm undeserving. That's the same thing. Or you're going to play victim. Like all these, there's different kinds of self-limiting beliefs, whether that be it's from your childhood or it's from past relationships. Somewhere, somehow, there is something in you that says, I will not experience something better or more due to XYZ. And getting belief work is super, super important to be able to understand where you hold yourself back, let alone how you're perceiving people. So being in a relationship, if you come from a place of not having my notes, if you come from a place of already lacking the love for yourself as an individual, you may have unhealthy habits. Even once you heal and you are healthy alone, you still have those unhealthy habits that you haven't seen yet. You can deal with the majority of them, but some of them don't come out until you're in a relationship. So first things first, we got to be able to address that we are neglecting our own needs. So you need to straight up face your reality. To restore your balance, find neutrality, reassess your boundaries, and reassess your needs and how you're communicating all those. Okay. So if you're in a relationship and you find yourself feeling suppressed or you find yourself getting triggered with frustration, that's a really good one. And you suppress it so you don't act on it towards your partner because you're in a state of where you've healed enough to know that it's not your partner's fault. However, there's still something that is triggering you to feel frustrated, and that comes from within us. Okay. This is where it can get a little bit complicated. So just because you've healed, or if you haven't healed yet, you may neglect your own needs 1001 times, and 1002 you decide to honor your needs, and it is no different and it is no less of a reason to believe that you deserve more. Like you do. Just because it took you 1002 times does not mean that you are any less deserving or worthy of a better relationship or better circumstances to feel fulfilled in your life. Do not let anybody convince you otherwise. Don't let you convince yourself even. This is where it's all rooted, is inside of us. So negative events may not be in your control, okay? 100%. But what we resist will persist. Okay? What is out of our control was really what was, hold on. What was out of our control will wreak havoc until we meet it where it's at. How do you do that? Self-love is accepting what is your reality. And if you feel privileged or you feel like you're above all this, that is a superiority complex and you're under an illusion. Okay? You got to look at yourself first. If you can't look at yourself subjectively and objectively, what you resist will persist. This stuff I did as an individual, and I got to a place in my attachment style where I got to secure, I knew my values, and I have hobbies outside of my relationship that I would do. That doesn't mean that I knew how to maintain those in a relationship. We get to a certain point of healing, and then we go through a test, I feel like, to test to see if we can catch ourselves or we can recognize the unhealthy behavioral patterns and if we are going to react in such a way with kindness and compassion. Reacting any other way to a situation isn't fair. Like, you can get angry, you can get mad, you can be sad. Think about what you're feeling though and how it resonates inside of you. If you can have compassion for yourself but not anybody else, that's a superiority complex. Okay? Okay, so I was doing a little bit of reading, and I'm going to post the article that I was reading in the bio below. And I'm also going to put a link to the TED Talk that over millions of people have watched. It's a very good TED Talk, but Dr. Gooden. Some ways to overcome these obstacles if you're in a relationship where you feel you're suppressing yourself and it's not your partner's fault, and it's strictly you just not knowing how to honor your needs. Intellectualization. This is something I specialize in, and is definitely good to get help with because you can lose touch with your intuition and you can cut off emotionally altogether. So the constant reminder of having that emotional wheel, which is in my community for reference, will allow you to stay in alignment with your emotions. Okay, just keep reminding yourself my emotions need to be honored, and that's why we come here, is to experience them. Love ultimately in the end is going to put you right back onto the path that you're supposed to be on. So Dr. Gooden does dialectical behavioral therapy to solve the unconditional self-love problem for people to be able to process it. Radical acceptance, and then there's self-forgiveness, wisdom. So if you're going to do self-forgiveness, you need to be able to forgive yourself from the wisdom that you take from a situation. There has to be some kind of benefit in our mind, and the ultimate benefit would be the wisdom that you gained. That's a humble wisdom, or that's a humble forgiveness to yourself, and a meaningful one, because you're coming out on top at the end of it, right? If you find yourself saying would have, should have, could have, I would definitely recommend the radical acceptance, unconditional self-worth, dialectical behavioral therapy, self-forgiveness, taking accountability for your life, or intellectualization. Intellectualization can be done, all of these can be done by yourself. You do not need a professional to do it. If you want to have a study group or an accountability partner, I would definitely recommend that. So, and I want to finish this off on what was out of our control was always in our control. Or what was out of your control was always in your control. You had to be reminded, and you will continue to be reminded until you remember or get the point. So if you find yourself in the same situation or with somebody of the same personality traits, I like to call this same demon, different person, there's something that is left to integrate that you have not into your system. So instead of thinking, this is happening to me again, think, okay, God, What do I have to learn here? Start embracing his guidance, and the path gets a lot easier. You need to look at yourself. You get to look at yourself and see, accept yourself for the raw person that you are. Accept yourself for the bad and the good. You know, if you're sitting here in a delusion of why a situation happened the way it did, or you're telling yourself things that didn't happen because it's easier, you're hiding behind a lesser evil, you're not taking a situation for what it is. For people to, this will lead into another video. It's going to be on compassion and how compassion is so misunderstood. Compassion is not just about being mindful. You got to be mindful to yourself first and foremost. That is the core to compassion. In another video, though, we'll talk about it. Being accountable for your reality, for what it is, not what it should be, is the only way to find your balance and restore who you are. And it's not the easiest process, but I mean, again, in my other videos, I talk about the only person you're being accountable to is yourself. And I would much rather call myself out and save myself the public embarrassment of someone else calling me out. Okay? So I hope this video helps you guys. If you have any questions, if this isn't resonating with you, please, 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 please comment your situation below in the comments, and I will reframe it so that it resonates with you. Not everyone's going to be able to resonate with how the examples that I'm giving, but I'm more than willing to reframe it. Okay? So please comment below, like and subscribe, and if you found this video helpful, come back, watch some other ones. Okay, peace and love.